got an awesome roundtable discussion coming up with the PolitiChicks. And moderating it is one Josh Bernstein. He's a talk show host, political analyst, commentator, and national spokesman. He's one of the most sought-after TV and radio guests in conservative media today. He's been called a political savant by many of his industry peers because of his often encyclopedic breakdown of many of the issues that we are facing today, and boy, do we have a lot. He promises his audience a unique and original perspective that's straightforward and unapologetic, and he is the national spokesman for the Association of Mature American Citizens, AMAC. You all heard Mark Levin talking about them a lot, too. They are 1.3 million members. Ladies and gentlemen, the PolitiChicks and Josh Bernstein.
How's everybody doing? Okay, good, good. So the first person we're going to bring up is the CEO and editor-in-chief of PolitiChicks.com. She is also a co-author of the best-selling book, What Women Really Want. She is also a contributor for a host of other publications, including Townhall.com, The Daily Caller, Front Page Magazine, The Blaze, and many, many more. Please welcome to the stage Anne-Marie Morel. Okay. Next, we have the co-owner and vice president and official spokesman for PolitiChicks. She is also a co-author of What Women Really Want. She is also a successful actress, having worked with such legendary stars like Natalie Wood, Lucille Ball, Bob Hope, and Henry Fonda. But perhaps she may be best remembered for her role as Catherine Wentworth, the sister of Pam Ewing, on CBS's hit show, Dallas. Please welcome Morgan Brittany to the stage. And last, but certainly not least, a major contributor to PolitiChicks, having taken on many roles, including as top researcher and interviewer. She is also a registered dietitian and fitness guru. Please welcome to the stage Sonia Sasser. And there you have it, fellas, the PolitiChicks. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay, so you three lovely ladies, we've got a lot of things to talk about. The first thing I want to bring up is why women, not all, but certainly many women, are more liberal, and they vote much more for the Democratic Party. Now, I don't want to get myself in trouble here, but I think that sometimes they put more of the emotional aspect into things when they vote. So there's certain issues and things like that that are more emotional. We know what women really want. They want to be treated as equals. They want to have no limit, obviously no limit to their successes in anything that they would like to accomplish. They want to raise their families. They want security, just like anybody else, including men, for that matter. In your opinions, what else do women really want?
Oh, man. Well, listen. All this stuff about more liberal women, I don't know. Did you guys see
certainly not here in South Carolina.
No, but did you guys see the last election?
Give yourselves applause here in South Carolina.
The last election shows you that when they're motivated, women will come out. And there is no doubt about it. I think about it a lot. And Anne-Marie and Sonia and I go all over the place, and we talk to so many different people. And women want just primarily, a lot of them that we talk to, they want big government out of their lives. They don't want government telling them how to raise their kids, what their kids should eat, all this kind of stuff. People are fed up. Women are fed up with it. They want to run their households the way they want to run it. And honestly, I think women want to be left alone to do what they do best. Because don't underestimate, to me, government tends to interfere way too much and take away your opportunity to do what you need. We want to worship the way we want to worship. Don't tell us how. You know, I mean, this is the kind of thing. So what women really want is freedom, faith, and family. That's what they want. Yep.
Anybody else want to add to that?
Here, use mine. Use mine.
What now?
If you want to add to that.
I completely agree with everything Morgan says all the time.
Well, that was a good statement.
No, I mean, really, what she says is absolutely true, but I also want a lot of money and fast cars.
And Sonia.
Is this working? Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Hi. Really, I think we basically just want government to do what it's supposed to do, and it's basically just secure our rights and stop running our damn lives.
Right. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Well, I think that whether you're male or female, I think most people don't want government running their lives.
That's
At
not
least you would
true.
hope so.
Did you see all these imbeciles marching in Washington right now?
Yeah, well, it is
They
the
love
anniversary.
Washington. They love government to interfere in their lives.
Yeah,
It's
they
so
do.
funny. All the hippies that used to burn flags and protest about government, now they want Big Daddy government in their lives. It's bizarre how that's
Yeah.
turned around. Isn't
It's
it weird?
amazing. It's amazing to me that college campuses, like for instance Berkeley, which was the bastion of freedom of speech. I mean, it was a time in history in which you could have a different of opinion, you could say what you wanted to say, and now, believe it or not, that school, not only have they shut down people like Milo Yiannopoulos, I mean, a half-gay, half Greek immigrant
He's
from
not
Europe.
half gay.
I'm sorry, not half gay.
Come on, Milo.
Half Jewish, half Greek, full gay. Sorry, Milo, I don't want to take away from that. But what's amazing to me about that is that now they have completely shut him down. They won't even allow him to speak in the ever-growing open Democratic Party tent, which is obviously a joke. And it's amazing. Now you have colleges that want to shame the students for being white. There's classes available on white shaming, and it's just amazing that now they actually have fought so hard for equal rights and for, and not to have segregation. Now they want segregation in many colleges. You've got these snowflakes out there, and actually I call them perennials instead of millennials, because they're perennials. They're like a weak wilting flower. And so they cannot have anything that doesn't agree with their opinion. What are your thoughts on the millennial generation in general, and how feminism has changed to be something that it was never really intended to be?
I'm sorry, I keep jumping in, but I've had a lot of coffee, but I have a lot to say about this.
Please do.
First of all, I'm not a victim. All this
Exactly.
hashtag Me Too stuff, they are trying to say, I'm a victim. We're all victims of these alpha males. Women are not victims, and as soon as these imbecilic, every time I say that, I look at the camera, all these feminists they're not feminists for one thing, they're sexualists. They're the ones who tried to open up this envelope so wide that there's no longer an envelope. It was all anything goes, everything goes, and how dare any of us Puritans deny their right to be sexualists? And now, all of a sudden, all these women who have shown every body part in the movies that none of us wanted to see, all of a sudden, those women, Madonna, they're trying to tell us now, oh, how dare Donald Trump speak so crudely? How dare men, how dare these alpha men compliment us? How dare they? They are throwing women back 100 years. If I was a man, not only would I not hire a woman right now, I wouldn't even speak to a woman. I would turn gay.
That's why they're turning to those sex bots now.
That's right.
Ew, yeah, ew. That is, Sonia is saying they're turning...
The sex bots, that's why they're so popular, and men are afraid of real women.
They're putting prostitutes out of business in Europe now, I hear.
That's disgusting. Men are disgusting in that way. I'm sorry, guys. Ew.
It's funny because during the Bill Clinton administration, sex was no big deal. Do you guys remember that? Yep. It's only sex. It doesn't mean anything. Everything he was doing in the Oval Office, every single one of the women that he abused and raping Juanita Broderick and all that, that was, we'll just not talk about that. They didn't even want to interview those women on television. They didn't even want to know they existed. Now, all of a sudden, I, who live out there in the cesspool, the sewer of Hollywood, I see this. And these women, so many, what they're doing is they're diluting the real women who are abused. They're taking away the focus off of women who really do need help. Because some of these that I know for a fact that Meryl Streep knew every single thing about Harvey Weinstein. Everybody knew about Harvey Weinstein. You knew not to go to his room. I'm sorry, but when I met him at the Cannes Film Festival, he said, well, we've got a project that you might be good for. Why don't you come up to my suite later and we'll talk about it?
Wow.
I said, you know what? I think we'll talk about it here. Well, that didn't go very far, and I knew. I've been in the business my whole life. I knew. Hollywood is like that. That's what it is, and every woman knows it. Why they're all coming out 30 years later now, I think it's a political thing, you guys. I think that ultimately they want to nail Trump for something, and that's what they're doing. They're starting all of this ruckus about women so they can eventually get to him.
Absolutely. And, you know, I worked on the Title IX cases with some lawyers that were working on the Title IX cases in college campuses. And that's what I'm afraid of, that it's going to become a witch hunt against men. And I don't know if you're familiar with what happened, but in 2009, the Obama Department of Education went in and sent a letter to every college and said, we want you to aggressively pursue all of these rape cases on campus. But what happened was it just turned into a mess where they had these kangaroo courts and these young men had no due process. And they were basically guilty before proven innocent. And a lot of them lost their scholarships, they got kicked out of school. And the problem with that too is that once it's on the record, if they try to transfer to a different school, other schools won't accept them either. So a lot of these men are, you know, don't have their due process. They don't have their rights. The accuser gets more rights than the accused. And, you know, also they, I lost my train of thought. They have, you know, they get really depressed because they're isolated and their peers pretty much ostracize them. So the lawyer that I spoke with, Michelle Owens, she works for the group SAVE, she was telling me that, you know, a lot of these boys, the best thing that I can do for some of them is just keep them on the phone until their family can get there because they're suicidal. And that's actually happened where a few of these young men committed suicide because of these cases. And she also told me that many of the cases, too, were, you know, these young women, they would date for a little while and then they would break up and the young man would start dating another woman and then the girl would get jealous. And then she would file a suit against him and that he wouldn't even remember because it would be like months later. But anyway, since then, Betsy DeVos has reversed that and added protections for the young men and as well as the real victims, like Morgan was saying, because that's what happened was it was marginalizing these young women who actually were raped on college campuses. But anyway, the Me Too campaign reminds me of that, and that is this witch hunt, and these men are being accused without any due process.
Well, one thing, they've been going after alpha, I'm sorry. They've been going after alpha males for a long time. So all you men out there who still tell a woman she's pretty or hold a door open, just put your jock straps on and stay men. Don't let these people talk you down. Don't change who you are for these monsters.
You know, that brings up a good point, and chivalry is certainly not dead, and especially not here in South Carolina. You've got some amazing people that, will hold the door open. I mean, I ran across the street back and forth a few times, and I was just surprised. People were just stopping, like, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah. Meanwhile, you feel like Frogger, where I'm from and all that. Yeah. So I think that what the Me Too hashtag or, whatever you want to call this thing is doing is it's taking away from real victims. Right. And it's basically lumping all the women into one group, and that's not right and that's not fair. Women should be protected. We shouldn't have these animals in Hollywood doing and preying on these women, obviously. But a lot of these things that are happening, some of them, not all of them, but some of them are doing this in order to be vindictive, to get back at somebody. Hey, you didn't give me a part in this movie, whatever. So I think that the Me Too movement needs to be really looked upon and looked at through a different scope, because I think that right now there's probably a lot of women, unfortunately, out there that are victims of these people in Hollywood and politics and what have you, and their voice isn't getting heard because it's being drowned out through this Me Too thing.
Right, absolutely.
Well, we know, Morgan and I personally know some women who are taking full advantage of this crazy movement, and if you sleep with anyone for any kind of job, if you're a waitress and you sleep with a manager, you are the predator. You are the problem. And that's what's happened with the casting couch for so long. A lot of these women don't have talent. They would not be where they are if it hadn't been for being able to sleep with these men. So that's a big problem. And if you have a job interview, this is a good rule of thumb for anyone who may not know, for young people out there who want to be actresses. If you open the door to a hotel room and a man is standing in his bathrobe, you tell him, I'll meet you downstairs once you're dressed. If he says no, if you don't come in, you don't get the job, then you say, adios. I'm going to go be a waitress then.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, I forget who it was. There was an actress who was standing up in front of the microphone, and some reporter was asking her and said, you know, there could be some innocent men caught up in this. Do you know what her reaction was? Well, there's going to be collateral damage. You know, I mean, come on. This is the attitude they have. They'll take out good people who are completely innocent to further their cause. This is getting crazy, and it's getting insane, and it's got to be controlled, because this is crazy. Remember back in the 1950s when there was the Hollywood witch hunt and the Communist Party, and everybody was accused of this and everybody was accused of that? Well, these liberals are doing the same thing right now. So I just fear it's going to end badly for many, many women, because like Anne-Marie said, already in production meetings, men are going, you know, maybe we ought to hire a guy, because I don't want 30 years from now, if I say something in a production meeting that she doesn't like, she'll come back at me. I mean, this is already being talked about. So it could end very badly for women if they're not careful, really careful.
And, you know, getting back to the left and the toxic masculinity, you know, the left loves to say that about men, and they're talking about those alpha males and these are the males that are the engine of this country. They're the guys who build things. They're the guys who fix things. We need you guys. And, you know, basically, you can't have an alpha male in a socialist system. They have to get rid of the alpha male.
And who's the biggest alpha male in America right now?
Donald Trump.
President Trump.
I think that feminism, real true feminism, is a strong, independent woman that can take care of herself, that doesn't need a man, may want a man, but doesn't need a man. I think there's a big difference in that. Can take care of herself, can take care of her family, will rise to the top of her professions, doing it the right way. And I think that they have taken away from the independent, strong-willed woman, a lot of the women on the left, because they want to be the victims. And they say that they hate men and that men are holding them down, but it's really not men that are holding them down, it's their attitudes, it's who they are as people and their ideological beliefs that are holding them down. What do you say to that?
Very true.
Absolutely, because if you're a victim, you know, you never take responsibility. It's always somebody else's fault. Someone is always to blame other than yourself. And so you never grow if you don't see and examine yourself and the mistakes that you make and, you know, decisions that you've made that maybe you shouldn't have. So, yeah, absolutely.
You know what, too? I have a newsflash for all of these people. Men are men and women are women. They're not the same. They think differently. They need each other. They complement each other. Why is this such a hard concept to grasp? I think feminine women are very powerful. Alpha men are very powerful. It's mutual respect. That's what we want. We want mutual respect, and women can get it. The three of us up here, we get respect. No, we do. You don't?
Not always.
Well, yeah, I have been in Hollywood for 50 years as an actress. And believe me when I tell you, I did it and many, many times walked out the door. and said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not, huh? Oh yeah, there was a 9.5 Weeks. There was a movie that Kim Basinger did years ago, and I remember that. Do you guys remember that movie? Yeah, and my agent at the time sent me the script over and said they're really interested in you doing this part. Please read the, read the script. And I read the script and I said,
you gotta love fruit.
I don't think so. This is not really up my alley. This is not what I do. And my agent almost dropped me for that, said, you're an actress, you should be able to do anything. I said, no, I draw the line at what I don't want to do. I want to run my career the way I want to run it, and I want to be proud of the things that I've done. And they don't get that concept at all. But I walked away from some big movies and never won an Oscar, never won an Emmy, but I'm proud of being on the Andy Griffith Show back in the 1960s. I am. Being Opie's girlfriend and Yours, Mine, and Ours with Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda and family movies. And Dallas was kind of the nighttime soap opera that everybody, talked about. But you know what? It was still something that you could walk away from and say, wow, I'm glad I did that. But I thought of my future, and if I was going to have children, and they're going to be able to see all of this that I've done in my life. And many, many actors and actresses, once they do choose to have families, regret a lot of things that they've done before. So I didn't want to do that.
I have to say about this woman, I go off on rants about her sometimes. The reason why I have so much respect for her and why she's my best friend, we've been working together for a lot of years now, never had one fight or one disagreement. Two women, can you imagine? Not even a disagreement.
Never happens.
I mean, even slightly. This woman has been in movies since she was 5 years old. She was in 2 Alfred Hitchcock movies. She was in The Birds. She was in Yours, Mine, and Ours, as she said. She was in Gypsy with Natalie Wood and Rosalind Russell. She played Baby June in that movie. If y'all have seen it, if you haven't, watch Baby June. She twirls the baton and does the splits and sings and dances. She toured with Bob Hope. She toured with Gene Kelly. She's been on Broadway. She was a commercial star. She has run the gamut. She was a child star, she was a teenage star, and then she was an adult star, but not that kind of adult star, a grown-up star. She has done so much in Hollywood, and she still rarely says anything negative about the business and the industry that she was in, except for the things that are obviously horrible. They should be giving her awards. They should be elevating this woman. She's been married. I'm still going to go. I'm going on more. She has been married to the same man for 72 years. For 36 years. He's a stuntman. They met each other on Dukes of Hazzard. He's a wonderful guy. She has 2 wonderful children, grown-up kids, and they are normal. If this woman came out as a transvestite, cocaine, heroin addict who killed people, they would stand up and cheer her in Hollywood.
Roll out the red carpet for her.
But because she's one of us, they've turned their backs on her. It's a travesty, and it made me hate Hollywood.
We gotta go.
So, minutes or seconds? I can't see anything. Okay.
So, there's a starvation that is out there for family-oriented movies, movie stars. You look at Passion of the Christ, you look at God's Not Dead, you look at some of these movies that have done really, really well. There is a void of that because there are many millions of Americans that still believe in the nuclear family. They still believe in kitchen time, and going to have dinner at a certain time. And it's kind of that old way of America that is escaping and is fleeting. Hollywood is into shock value. Hollywood wants to change your little boy into a little girl, or a little girl into a little boy. I mean, for God's sakes, in California, I think next year in 2019, they're now going to allow you to choose. They're going to allow you to choose what sex you are on your official driver's license and identification cards, male, female, or whatever the hell binary is. I mean, this is what California is like these days, and add to that.
What's worse about that is now they want to prosecute. If you say the wrong pronoun, that's a crime. And certain, like Canada and even in California, they're pushing for that. And I saw this video of Steven Crowder. I don't know if you guys ever watch him. He's hilarious. And he went onto a college campus, and he had this sign, and it said, there are two genders, change my mind.
Saw that.
And so this woman comes up, and she said, well, I'm non-binary. And he has this conversation with her. And then she said, well, you just referred to me as a she. That's an act of violence. And he's like, well, so you're telling me that I just committed a crime? She's like, yeah. And so this is how ridiculous. And it's one thing if they want to be crazy and they want to do their thing, but now they want to force us to adopt to accommodate them, or else force it on us, or for us to go to jail, or whatever they want to do to us.
Well, listen, getting out of crazy California and out of the sewer of Hollywood, which we've been talking way a lot, what we all need to do before we leave the stage today, what we need to tell you guys is how, I know you know this, but it's how important this 2018 election is going to be. This you know, midterm election. We have got to hold on to the House, you guys. We've got to be active. We've got to be out there. We got to get people to the polls just like we did before for the last election. It is so important. Sonia, Anne Marie, and I are out there all the time saying, people, you cannot get complacent. We have to talk to everybody we know, because believe me, the Democrats are out for war. They are out to get us. They want the House back so they can start impeachment against Donald Trump. We've got to do it. And I know all of you in here, because you're so concerned, you wouldn't be here if you weren't concerned about this country. Believe me, I know you're all patriots. But we have to keep that in our mind right now. You know, November's going to come quick, and we've got to hang on to what we've got.
The three of us wrote a book. It's called PolitiChicks, A Clarion Call to Political Activism. And Morgan and I were in Greenville. Her daughter is gorgeous. Evie, hi, we love you. She's watching. She's doing a cotillion, so she wasn't able to be with us in her own state, but whatever. We came from California, and we're here, but Evie, I love you. We were in Greenville, South Carolina, and we were talking about this thing that's a horrible, I hate these people. It's a website and an organization called Run for Something, and I'm in the LA press corps, so I get all of the newsletters for these crazy leftists. They're encouraging people from, if you want to run for a Democrat dog catcher to mayor to whatever, they will help you, they'll give you the tools you need, and I've been preaching about this for so long, I'm like, we've got to do something about that kind of stuff. When we were in Greenville, during our book signing, a young man came up to us and he showed me his phone. He bought the domain for Run for Liberty. And he is going to start something similar to what the Democrats do. So it'll be an activist organization where it will give people the tools, exactly like what they do. That is how regular folks can make a big, big difference. When you hear something and you have an idea and you've got a gift, every single one of us has got to use those gifts and talents. That's why PolitiChicks was started. Andrew Breitbart encouraged me to do what I do, which is to speak endlessly, whether I want to or not, and God won't let me stop, even when I want to. So every one of you in here is so important. Every one of you is an activist, and especially all the women in here, and men. Ask all of your female relatives who claim that they're Republicans if they're registered and if they vote. Because we, women, for whatever reason, we get out there a lot and we talk a lot, but then we don't vote. So please make sure your relatives and all these women are signed up and that they are actually voting.
We have to. We have to, you guys. 20 years ago, I never thought I'd be sitting here. I never thought I would. So many people have become activists and they've gotten involved. That's what we have to do. You guys, thank you so much for listening to us. God bless all of you.
And I just want to add one more thing. You're absolutely right about the activism. This is the last thing I'm going to say. If, God forbid, they win back the House and possibly the Senate, we don't really have control of the Senate as it is, because we've got Lindsey Graham, we've got John McCain, we've got Rob Portman, we've got Lisa Murkowski, we've got Susan Collins. We've got about 7 or 8 Democrats, let's just face it. So that's why we're not getting, you know, the cooperation that we should get. And we probably have 40 or 50 in the House that are probably the same way. If you don't think that they wouldn't sign up for an impeachment, even though they're quote-unquote Republicans, then you're not paying attention.
That's right.
This is an extremely, extremely important midterm.
It is. It is. Thank you.
Big round of applause for the PolitiChicks.